In this video, we'll look at the property, the box sizing content box. And this is basically the one that is exactly the opposite of what we call the border box here. So basically what I discussed in the previous video, the default setting is called the content box. And the content box is focused on the content itself. As what I explained, that if you would have a margin box to specifically focus on margin, well, guess what? There is no margin box. However, we have the border box, which makes sense, which you should understand now. But of course, you also have the content box. And what is the difference then with the content box and the border box? Well, content box is basically the default setting. So if you would not have any setting here, it will set the default on content box. But content box is an issue eventually. And let me show you exactly why this becomes an issue. So we are right now set on content box. If you go down here, we have set our leaf, and our leaf is now, what happened here? And our leaf has now a certain settings here, which we are very familiar. And then if we look here at the following, we look at this item here, let's look here at the computed, you can see now the content box will force this 100 and everything else will be an add-on, as I indicated before. So now if we put in here 50, we expand this, you can see here 50, and then everything else expands. There will be an add-on. So why is this really eventually such a big problem? So let me show you. This is becoming a problem the moment we have a width of 100%. Let's save this and refresh. And now what happens is you can see here, I'm not sure if you're able to see this bar here, but you are able to see now what's going on here is now the item is starting to expand beyond itself. And we don't want this because the width is 100. Yes? And that is fine. Let's open up a item here. You can see here, this will be even more clear. Because right now we have here this mobile design view. And it says here 320 is the standard max width of this. But if you do 100% width of the content box, you can see now the content box is 320%, 320 pixels already. That is the full width. So besides what's on the side of the padding, the margin, etc., etc. Of course, margin should be removed. If margin should be removed, then you can still see we still have a overlap here on the padding and the border. And this is not what you want. This is a very common issue, because what will happen if you don't know this? You might say, oh, I need to figure out what's my height here. Then you're going to adjust the height here. Maybe you say this. You have to calculate how to do this, or you have to figure it out. You say, oh, maybe this is maybe 80%. And that works until you figure out that you want to open up this here, you want to change this again, and then you get all these unappealing designs. This is extremely important to remember. This is why, one more time, border box is extremely essential to use. And I'm even surprised why they have the content box as default, but fair enough. Now you know. This is why we also set this as a default setting. If you don't set this on a default setting, you will get an issue. And the same here, if it's the content box, let's put it in here. Then you also understand why we have margin padding here set on 0, because there's a default 8 pixels around here. Let's look at that. If we go here to the body, HTML is using a default of 8 pixels. And so as you can see here, the content box by default now is going to give you some errors, which is not even things. And, or well, it doesn't give you really errors, but it gives you already a scroll item. Of course, with border box, it might be the same. Well, apparently in border box, it fits properly. However, you don't want these kind of things here. You don't want something else to control. You must always be in control here. This is why you are coding. The coding means you have full control, and that's why many people prefer to code from a blank slate. So it's completely clean template, so you have that all. If you're using WordPress or some other content management system, which is fine and which is sometimes saving a lot of time, but you have lesser control because you're dependent on certain items. Luckily, many of those you can code a lot of things in there, but some settings might be restricted or requires a workaround. So this is very important. But with this, you reset everything, give you full control starting from a blank sheet or HTML file. Everything should be standard on 0, and from there on you control, because you are the developer or designer, you control what's going to happen and how it's supposed to look like. Very, very important to understand it. This basic setting is key to start. This is the universal setting that I discussed before, but I just want to make sure I have this point really completely clear. You also understand why we're using border box and what happens if you don't use border box. You get the default setting, which is the content box. And that's what we have. Alright, so you have fully understanding of these two terms. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions regarding this, make sure you put them in the comment section. I'll get back to you. And if you enjoyed this video, check out the next video here. You will probably enjoy this as well.